lot of the work just comes out as unconscious. So it's unconscious, and because it's unconscious, you're tapping into a collective memory in your past, in your heritage that you don't know about. I'm taking Catholicism, Christianity, and I'm taking pre-Columbian codices. So for example, these are Aztec, but some are from the Nahuatl codices, which is not Aztec. Some are from the Mayan culture, some are from the Zapotec culture. They all have these books, you know, and so I just sort of take them and I use whatever I like and whatever I want. So I sort of like make my own interpretation.
Ancient symbols, stories, and legends live again whenever artist Santa Barraza picks up a brush. She channels centuries of Central American history through paintings bursting with color and imagery. All of the cultures she draws from combine not only in her art, but also within herself.
I was born in Kingsville, Texas, and my father is from, he's from Sarita. His family was from the Kennedy Ranch, and my mother was from Bishop. She was born in Bishop. Their heritage is the Karankawa Indians. They lived on right by the Gulf Coast on Matagorda Bay. They encountered Cabeza de Vaca in what was it, the late 1600s, early 1700s. When I started looking at my heritage, you know, since we're Mexicans, you know, I decided, well, I need to look into Mexico.
Let's talk about some of your art. In fact, let's just start with something pretty simple here. This one over my shoulder. Mm-hmm. I look at it and I see sacrifice. What is it intended to be?
Well, I think that's good. Anyone that looks at my art, you have a different interpretation, but in a way, that is exactly what it is. This is my mother, and I always locate some of my paintings with the green jay of South Texas. You see it on her shoulder. And my mother actually died from a heart attack, and so I have her heart exposed, sort of like Madre Dolorosa, the painful Mother Mary, you know, with all the daggers and that in her heart. This is like Christian Catholicism.
Do you always think of your mom when you do that?
No, actually, I've been doing that for a long time. And I do lectures. They ask me about that, and they say, oh, you've been influenced by Frida Kahlo. No, I was doing this before Frida Kahlo came to the United States, you know.
Santa is one of the pioneers of the Chicano art scene, and she has spent more than 50 years making sure her culture is passed down through time, and even through times when her profession didn't respect it.
When I was in graduate school, I was doing fiberglass murals. That was part of my, my graduate studies. But my committee told me that I couldn't do that because murals was not really art. And I thought to myself, oh, the Vatican is not really art. I mean, Michelangelo's murals are not really art. So when I went to see some of the art history professors, I was asked, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to study? What is going to be your focus? And I said, well, I'd like to study Chicano art. And they told me, well, it doesn't exist. And so when I was told that, I felt like, oh, I need to validate myself.
Santa refused to color inside the lines in college, but her talent and determination saw her through and beyond. She holds multiple degrees, became a professor, an author, and has had her work hung alongside her idols.
Your work is world-renowned. Tell me about this.
Oh, yes, when I went with my sister Frances, and when we walked into the show, when I looked at my work and I looked across the hall, and just like 5 feet away from me on that wall was the work of Goita. And there was also paintings of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera and very interesting art. I feel like I was in an area that I didn't feel I belonged because I was with these artists that I admired when I was studying art.
What would you say to the professor that told you there's no such thing as Chicano art?
Well, I think it was negating our existence, and we have been here for many, many years. And so I think now it is mainstream.
Do you feel at least partially responsible for that?
Yeah, I guess so, because we sort of started it, in the 70s, and they're writing about us and doing things about us now. And I mean, I'm sort of invited to all these different colleges, and so I went, and the students are actually studying my art in their art history classes. Yeah, so they study me in their art history classes.
The media used in Santa's work have changed over the years, from charcoals to tin to ancient papers.
This is an oil painting.
But her pieces are consistent in their power.
Oh, wow.
She depicts saintly miracles or historical atrocities or even personal tragedy.
She has the baby in her hands, and in the water are the hands of Coyochalki, the moon goddess, when she was dismembered by her brother.
Events that shape a person's life, such as her sister's heart condition.
And I remember when we were little, before she had the open heart surgery, we used to sleep in the same bed. And I remember one night, the bed shaking. I could hear like popcorn popping. It was her heart. And then it stopped. So I ran, got my parents. I got my father. He came running, and my mother. My father picked her up, and he shook her, and he shook her, and he shook her. And her heart started beating again. So she had all those kind of problems. So
Your art also tells of the struggles of your people. Is that important to you?
yes, of course. Yes, it's important because I think that when you identify something, you release it and it's gone. And then you can move on.
Love and loss, fear and joy. Our universal human experiences appear time and time again in art throughout history. Art defines cultures, and it has defined Santa Barraza's life. She is continuing the conversations of her ancestors, humbly adding her voice to the echoes of the past.
You have left an important mark.
Well, let me tell you, the Smithsonian is interested in my archives. The Benson Collection is interested in my archives. And University of California, Santa Barbara is interested in my archives. So I'm trying to decide who I'm going to give it to. So I think I have some credibility, but it's kind of hard to say. We need to be humble. It's like the head and the tail, right, in the Bible. So the tail becomes the head and the head becomes the tail. So we can't have vanity. We have to be humble.
What do you want people to think of when they view your work?
We can empower like the younger generation of their history and not negate it, but it actually incorporate it into their being and their soul. I think that I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish.